Hello, my beloveds. Welcome to today's Hot Mess Ministry Sunday sermon. And it seems that my Sunday sermons are simply morphing into a way of me to tell you how I'm using divinity to get through my week, to get through my life at this particular moment. I would like to keep this one short, like last week's, and let's just say a blessing that my camera works perfectly. So last week, we were talking about embracing again all those icky things that you have been pushing away so you can have a full box of crayons, and how a lot of what I'm doing right now is being told to do nothing. And it's funny, I talk about my email friend Carrie all the time, but I emailed her yesterday. I said, have you noticed that mastery in essence is doing nothing? And it really is, the master learns when to stop interfering, when to stop getting in its own way, when to step back so you're not defending, you're not controlling, you're not fixing, you're not rescuing, you're not saving, you're not manipulating, you're not forcing, you're not struggling, you're not resisting. It's all these things we're not doing. So anyway, my mastery right now from a recovering control freak is doing nothing. And like the example I gave you last week of being in my garden and I am unable to pull anything. I'm just being told don't pull anything. Every time you pull something, I get poison ivy. So don't pull any weeds, don't clean anything up. And so I had to deal with that hatred in the garden. And then I told you briefly about the terror I had to embrace hearing my dog fight with the dog next door, who's like 167. I don't think I told you that both dogs ended up okay, which is a miracle because they're both okay. Even though they were fighting, they didn't bite each other. I mean, that's divine intervention. So when I did my sermon, I thought I was kind of coming out of the other end of this trial. No such luck. No, I had more to, and this one was a really, really deep one, like a true surrendering, even surrendering what I thought surrender looked like. So I'm just going to tell you what happened. We were supposed to leave for a trip to Maine on Tuesday. Just a 3-day trip. We're coming back Friday. Had all sorts of outdoor things planned. Mountain hike, zoo, restaurant on the water. And the day before we're supposed to leave, one of our beloved kitties starts peeing all over the house. Now this sweet kitty, Munchie Boots is his name. I call him Bootsy. Has had a history of urine crystals before, so I kind of knew, especially since I just ran out of his special food, that this was what's going on. At the same time, we can't leave him when he's peeing all over the house. So Tuesday morning, and this just started Memorial Day. There's no vets open, of course, so this started Monday, and we were supposed to leave Tuesday the following morning. So I found the closest vet to us, and it opened at 8 o'clock, and I just brought him in and prayed that they would take us, and they did, and they were wonderful. And I brought my 11-year-old boy with me, who's got a special way with animals. And, it was this, I'm so glad he was with me. He was just this sweet, intuitive, wise energy. And, together he and I were saying, okay, whatever happens with the trip, it's fine. And no matter what happens with Bootsy, it's fine. And, together we kind of directed how we wanted to go. Her coming in and saying good news. And anyway, it did end up being okay. He had the urine crystals. There were a couple hours where we didn't know how bad it was. He'd have to go to surgery, but everything turned out okay. Everything just turned out okay. And, Ro and I are feeling like kind of directed this, And we ended up canceling our trip, though, or postponing it, because Bootsy needs medicine twice a day. And we wanted to be the ones to do that, and plus he was still peeing all over the house. This all worked out, though, because the weather this week in Maine was absolutely horrible, rainy, cold, and all our plans would have been washed out anyway. So we postponed. We're going in a few days the following week. And we decided just to have fun, staying home. So we went out to dinner, and it was totally high vibrational, fifth dimensional family fun of laughter and celebration, delicious dinner, just jokes, just this entire appreciation of, oh, this is 5D living. It is so good. It is so good. And it carried over into the next morning, and I'm like, oh, you know, let's just stay on the vacation field. I was going to take my boys out to our favorite pizza place in a different town and just have fun. And then we get a call at 9 o'clock that morning from the vet saying they had the results of his urinalysis, which frankly I had just discarded because I'm like, it's over. Wrap up a little bow, boop, boop. Worked out for the best. Thanks, Bootsy, for saving our trip. But no, this is where the latest trial began for me, and this was a big one. So she calls us and tells us that he's got sugar in his urine, and that almost always means diabetes. And immediately I'm like, no. And, you know, we talked about bringing him back in a week. I'm like, well, we postponed our trip. Can I bring him the week after? And she's like, yeah, sure. Then I get off the phone and it kind of hits me. And I'm like, oh, diabetes, really? And then I did something I probably shouldn't have done, but obviously I had to do it. I went online, and what do you do to really scare the crap out of yourself is you go online and you look up the symptoms, and he had half the symptoms. He had half the symptoms, and, you know, especially like the weight loss. Both my husband and my children noticed he'd lost weight. He was drinking a lot. He's been lying around a lot instead of playing, and then especially the glucose, the sugar in his urine. Even the internet says this almost always means diabetes. So it kind of just hit us full force. I mentioned it to my husband. And we're like, that's it. You know, the doctor's afraid he's got diabetes. It says he's got diabetes. He's got diabetes. It's just so obvious. We were noticing he's losing weight. He's drinking all the time, all this other stuff. And so maybe it sounds stupid that it's just a cat. But no, it's a family member. And this is a sickness. Even though he's lean and mean, he's not overweight, so it would have been type 1 diabetes. So, you know, especially with the weight loss, he would have needed twice daily injections and special food. That's if we wanted to treat a sick cat. Or we could just let him die. Or we could try to use the divine to heal him. Those were the three options I'm saying. Okay, we have a dead cat, a sick cat, or we try to heal him. And none of those options felt good to me. You know, maybe last year I would have, you know, laid my divine hands on him and tried to heal him, used the family and my will to heal him. But, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do any of it. I don't want a dead cat. I don't want a sick cat. I don't want a sick cat. I don't care how much I love him. I don't want chronic sickness in this house. And this is just me being totally honest. If you're in a higher vibration, sickness has no business being there. Absolutely no business. I went through this whole thing with my whole spirit baby daughter of, you know, choosing sickness or not, and lifelong sickness. And lifelong sickness is not where we are going. And the thought of having to, you know, tend to it and maintain it, I don't care how heartless and cruel that sounds. I didn't want to do it. I also didn't want to lose him. And I didn't want to try and heal him. None of those things. And so I went to the deepest, darkest despair as I was listening to my inner wisdom that's saying, do nothing. Do nothing. Don't try and heal him. Don't try and affirm this. Don't pray for him. Don't align with the highest possible timeline. Do nothing. Do nothing. Do nothing. Remember that dream I had? I'm going to refresh your memory. That dream I had, and I told you about last sermon, when I thought I was coming out the other end of this, I'm on the seafaring, self-steering vessel and was going through these icebergs. And I was told, best not to look. Just go to sleep. Don't pay attention. Do nothing. This vessel will get you through this. Just let the vessel get you through this. And that just kept coming back. Don't try to steer this ship. And so for me, this was a trial to get me out of my mind. I am very, very in my mind. Very in my mind. And when I had my soul initiation, which I've talked about in several places, so I'm not going to get into it now, back on the 11-11-11, my soul integrated with my human self, There was no thought processes going on. I didn't have to affirm anything. I didn't have to pray about anything. And why do we do this? It's from fear. It's from trying to control and still manipulate. I'm not saying that prayer and affirmations are not absolutely appropriate and valid. For me, that was absolutely appropriate and valid and exactly what I was supposed to be doing in that time. It was like a reprogramming of old programming. And it was absolutely what I was meant to be doing. Absolutely, a reprogramming. So the prayers and the affirmations, absolutely, when I was doing it full force, especially the past year and a half, absolutely what I have, frankly, I've been doing it for 13 years. But that's what I was supposed to be doing, to reprogram. Now, that's still the mind trying to get out of the mind. Now, I'm being told, go to the next level. It's time to have a new relationship with energy. And I have to give props to one of my divine guides, Adamus Saint Germain. He's the one who's saying, get out of the mind. You can't use the mind to get out of the mind. You have to get out of the mind. He even talks about the forerunners going through something, in May or June that really, really makes you get out of the mind. So thankfully, I had that wisdom as I was going through this with my cat, thinking, I have a sick cat, and I'm not supposed to do anything about it. I'm not even supposed to pray or affirm. So for me, to not try and direct it or use my mind to control it was really difficult. It was like a death of the mind. And what did I do? I spent the whole day in despair because without my mind, without my prayers, without my affirmations, who am I? Who am I? And it was this feeling of not being safe enough to not try and dictate where life is going. I'm not even one who can sleep in a car if I'm in the passenger seat. If I'm in the passenger seat up front, I'm not even one who's able to sleep because I feel like I have to be alert and awake in case the driver doesn't know what he's doing. As a kid in the back seat, I could sleep. But if I'm in the passenger seat, I don't care how long the trip is, I cannot sleep because I feel like I have to be aware so I can control things. And here I'm being told, don't look, don't even try to steer, don't use your words to direct this. And so it came to me that, as appropriate as it was to do that, I'm not supposed to do that now. I'm supposed to get out of the mind and totally trust that I am being steered without my input. Without my input, I am being steered exactly where I want to be. And was I able to really trust and love enough that it wouldn't be a very sick cat I'm handed or having to cancel our trip again, our first vacation in 4 years, really. Can I trust that all of these things in my life that I don't know what to do with, and there are many, will be resolved without my input, without my mind? Can I trust that? And frankly, no, I couldn't. Which is why I spent the whole day in despair. I didn't even know what to do with myself. Without using my mind to get out of this, I didn't even know what to do with myself. I took a walk in the rainy woods at dinner while everyone else is eating, just to, kind of get the energy moving through me. Anyway, I put my mallow beads away, which I've been using for the past 3 months, religiously, 3 times a day. Talk about affirmations. Okay, if I use this, I'm safe. If I use this, I'm safe. If I use this, I'm safe. But that's okay. That's what I was supposed to be doing. It was part of the reprogramming. But I'm not supposed to do it now. All right, so I took my cat back to the vet with my 11-year-old on Wednesday. No, yesterday. This was just yesterday. For blood work to confirm the diabetes and figure out what we're going to do next. And something happened. I don't know what, but as I'm sitting there, not trying to steer the ship, not praying for Bootsy, just saying, I love you, Bootsy. I love you. That's the only truth. I love you, Bootsy. And I did tell him the day before, look, I'm not going to pray for you. I'm not even going to try and heal you. I said, I just want you to be effortlessly happy and healthy. That's all. The end. The end. I didn't try to make it happen. I just said, that's what I want. Something happened at the vet while they were taking his blood work, and it had nothing to do with me. Had nothing to do with me directing it. But it was like a timeline shift. You could feel something shifting. I felt a shift, a palpable shift. And then the vet came out and said, because I thought Bootsy had been getting worse. There was blood in his urine. He was still peeing around the house. But the vet came out and said that it was good news. His bladder was soft and small, and they gave him more muscle relaxants. Just he was passing the crystals that were in him. He was passing. They didn't have the results of the blood work, but I just had this knowing that everything was going to be okay. It was just a knowing. And I could feel the timeline shift as I'm in the parking lot. We're taking Bootsy home. I felt my appetite come back. I had been unable to eat for 36 hours. But I felt it come back, and I just felt this feeling of everything's okay now. I don't know why, but everything's okay. I even went as far as to tell my children, I think when the blood work comes back, there's not going to be any diabetes. And they're saying, don't get attached. I'm like, I know, I'm not going to get attached. But I just have this feeling. And my wise boys, too, they had a feeling like, I always felt like it was kind of a mistake. And anyway, do I have to tell you where it goes? A couple hours later, we get the phone call. There's no diabetes. There's no diabetes. We're not going to have a lifelong sick cat. We're going to have an effortlessly happy, healthy cat. His bladder's better. He's back to normal just today. And they're like, you see how you worried over nothing? I'm like, well, I was supposed to have this experience. I was supposed to have this experience to learn that I can trust the flow of life without me directing it. And I had to do it for a while to affirm my safety, to affirm that I can trust things, to affirm that scared child inside that everything's going to be okay. But now I'm at a place of a new discovering and exploring a new relationship with energy. And what's that like? So it was interesting taking myself back out in the world today. Friday. Today's Friday. I'm doing this a couple days early. Friday mornings are when I have my time alone, and my husband takes the boys out to do stuff, and I go out and usually I'm in the car and I'm like directing, okay, God's going to meet me at the health food store. God's going to meet me here. And there are going to be great interactions, and I'm provided for. I affirm my way in the world, and I'm not supposed to do that now. So I'm like, okay, if I don't have to affirm, and if I don't have to protect, and I don't have to plan or script, what do? So I just turn on my music, and me and my inner child, we just delighted in everything. Delighted in everything. And when you don't have that having to control, having to protect, having to keep yourself safe, you can delight in things. This is not a new feeling for me. This has been coming back more and more. But you're just overtaken with this unconditional love. There was this, this young man crossing the street in the crosswalk, overweight, beautiful. I just wanted to get out and hug him and tell him, you're wonderful, I love you. You're just, when you're not protecting, when you're just delighting within your inner child and knowing that the world is safe, you can delight in everything. It was just one of those times where the music, it gets into your bones, and it's just, this is what life is. This is joy. This is the inner child who feels safe and can delight in the world again. Remember what that feeling was like in childhood? Well, that's what's coming back now, this sense of feeling safe, that you don't have to try and steer things because you know everything is going to be all right. So that's my new exploration. And I'm not saying that the trials are over. Oh, we still have a big trial to face. And that's whatever happens with this house. And I've talked about that so many times, I'm not going to talk about it again. But what's going to happen there? I don't know. I'm not being told not to steer it. It's already done. It's already resolved. And I'm just going to have to trust that and let that happen. As far as my garden, what's going to happen with the weeds and the poison ivy and the prickers, I don't know, but it's not up to me. It's not up to me. None of this stuff is up to me. And I'm just being told that it's okay to let go of the wheel totally. It's okay not to look, direct, pray, or affirm. It is a time of bringing back the passions of the inner child. So when the child isn't protecting and being terrified, that inner child can express passion. And for me, it's I have like this new passion for fashion, which I might have had as a child, but I didn't have the means to buy the clothes. I love Goodwill. And I also didn't have the freedom of being me because you're in school and you're going to worry about what everyone thinks about what you're wearing. I don't worry about that anymore. But my inner child and I are enjoying fashion in a new way. We're enjoying movies and music and cooking and other things and cats and horses. And look at all the things that you loved when you were a kid. And when you heal that inner child, and you have to keep healing over and over again, just reassuring, but when that child feels safe, that child can delight in the world. And it's going to be even better than before because you can parent that child. You're the safe space for it. And so anyway, this is just to say wherever you are on your journey, it is absolutely appropriate. Whatever you're doing is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. But there's stair steps. There's different levels, there's just different upgrades, and trust in your inner knowing to let you know when it's time to just change it up a bit. For me, my Malibu's are starting to get old. I'm like, I don't feel like doing this anymore. And at the same time, I'm being told you're not supposed to do it anymore. So this is interesting for me. A new place of no affirmations, no directing, and just being safe in the world. What's that feel like? I don't know. This is like day 1 or day 2. It's been 24 hours. I don't know. A lot of it's still going to be the same, of course, because there's still going to be other things. But this is just the latest in where I am. Coming out of the mind. Is there more to come? There always is. But I honor you wherever you are in your journey. And if you're being told to really just let go of the wheel, that it's safe to trust, just experiment with it. See what it feels like. See what it feels like to absolutely feel safe, not only in the world, but in your own body. It's a process. It's not an instant. It's a process. But then we learn to trust. And when you learn to trust, it's easier and easier. All right, this is as long as I want it to be. Thank you for listening to my blatherings. We survived May. I survived May, which, was questionable the last couple of weeks. What comes next? Who knows? But just let the vessel steer you. Drop the oars, hands off the wheel, and trust that we're being carried because all our needs are known and met, and just we're safe enough to just trust the flow. Trust the flow. It's nothing new, but it's a deeper understanding. Just a deeper understanding, actually putting it into physical practice. So I love you, my beloveds. I pass around the offering plate if something here I said has helped resonate or help you remember or help trigger something in you that, you can access your freedom, then please thank me with a donation. And I am very grateful for you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.